Well, I was thinking of you about a few weeks ago when I heard of the passing of Bum Phillips and Bud Adams. You came to Houston right at the back end of the Love You Blue era. What was it like to get here at that time for those who weren't here to witness it firsthand? And what comes to mind when I say Bum Phillips?
Well, Bum, you're right. I got here I went to spring for the training camp in 1980, and Bum was, of course, I didn't know it at the time, was in his last year as the head coach of the Oilers. And Ron Franklin, who also worked at Channel 2, said he walked me up to Bum and he said, "I'd like to introduce you to our new guy. He's coming here from Indiana. His name is Craig Roberts, and he's always wanted to meet you." And Bum looked at me and put his hand out and said, "Son, you have to have higher aspirations." And when I look back on it, of course, I laughed at the time, but no, I didn't have higher aspirations. Bum was absolutely the best. But that 1980 team, you go 11-5. You had 3 consecutive years where you're beaten in the playoffs by the eventual Super Bowl champ, and the owner fires you. Come on, you don't do that. It wouldn't be done now, as we like to say in the modern era. But when Bud passed away, and Bud was always nice to me, but people would ask me, "What do you think about Bud Adams?" I said, "Well, let me get this straight. He fired Bum, he traded Earl, and he moved the team. What do you think I think?"
Let me ask you about Bud. I guess the yin to the yang of Bum. Everybody loved Bum. Bud kind of left on a pretty bad note, and he had made a lot of enemies after he fired Bum. What are your first stories that you come up with when you think of Bud Adams?
Well, Bud was always very nice to me, but I can also recall of having asked him on numerous occasions for a one-on-one interview, and he would never grant that. But nonetheless, I mean, I have literally no negative, one-on-one personal stories about him, but there were so many knucklehead decisions that were made along the way, not the least of which was making Lad Herzig the general manager. This is a guy that they found on River Oaks Drive with his pants down, passed out in his car. This is your general manager with his pants down? Come on. Can you imagine if that happened to Rick Smith? Well, maybe it has, so we just don't know about it. I don't know. But, Bud was an innovator. I'm fairly convinced that without Bud Adams, Houston would never have had a professional football team, nor would the AFL have merged with the NFL, because, believe it or not, to those old-timers, as much as they didn't like him, he was a guy who made things happen, and he did make the Oilers move into the NFL. So I give him a great deal of credit. And his son-in-law, Tommy Smith, is a good guy. His daughter, Sharon, very good people. And, of course, they're now running the Titans. But moving the team, that was like the ultimate disaster for this city. And I know a lot of people say, well, he only asked for what Bob McNair got. Yeah, he did. But he was, one-on-one with Bob Lanier, the mayor at the time, and just couldn't work a deal out and reacted in a pretty serious knee-jerk way. Moving the team is about as serious as it gets. I remember the Rockets had a similar situation where Les Alexander was in battle, and a guy from Louisville called me at Channel 2, and he said, "We'd like to ask you a question. Do you think the Rockets will move to Louisville?" And I said, "Yes, I think they will, as soon as you move the Kentucky Derby to Houston."
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.